Thank you once again, Jonathan, for joining us. You are in the band Just Doin It, and we last spoke about 3 months ago, I think, back in June. What has changed for the band in that time?
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for having me again. What's changed for the band? We're getting a bit bigger. I think our audiences is growing, and we've started doing. We've done a few really high-profile gigs, and we've got a few coming up. And we're just keeping changing the set list, playing, building up the audiences, and just meeting new people, and just building it as much as we can.
As you say, you're getting booked for various conventions and things
Yes.
now. I see that you're due to play the Quovention in 2027,
Yes.
and sorry, it's so far away that I almost had to double check myself as to what year it was. And you're also part of the Slade convention as well, playing a small set. Am I correct
Yeah.
in that?
Yeah. We did that. We did the Slade one a couple of years ago at the same venue, the New Hampton Arts Centre in Wolverhampton. And I had a message a few weeks ago off Andy, who organises and runs it all, and he says, "Could you come and do a small set again because they enjoyed us last time?" And as I say, Slade and Quo, they kind of go together, don't they?
Yes.
But we said yes, so we've been given a 40-minute slot on the Saturday, and we're really looking forward to playing again. It's again, as I said, it's building the audience. Because we're from the West Midlands or the Black Country, it just kind of builds the band up even more. So
It does, and I'm sure there will be many appearances due in the future. You also are in other types of bands as well. You're in a Clapton tribute.
yes, Clapton is. Quo's always been my dad's thing. I got Quo because of my dad. He's a fanatic fan, and it was always on in the car growing up. It was always being played. That's how I got into it. And it wasn't until it's quite a funny story actually. I asked my dad for the Squire Telecaster when I was 16, and we went to the shop, and the shop owner gave me a catalogue, the Fender catalogue. So he said, have a look what colour you want. And I was flicking through. I don't know if you've watched do you know Hugh Laurie's House MD?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Well, I was big into that at the time. And I was watching it regular, and I saw this picture of what was Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And I says to my dad, I said, "Dad, Hugh Laurie's in this Fender catalogue." And he looked, he goes, "What you on about, you blank?" He goes, "It's Eric Clapton." And I said, "Well, who's Eric Clapton?" I was 16.
Yeah.
And he played me, there's an album called Just One Night, that Eric Clapton, it's a live album. And he played me that the day after. He said, "Listen to that." He sat me down, put the headphones on. He said, "Just listen to that." And I'm hooked. So when lockdown happened, I left. Quo. I was in a band called Quo Motion, and that disbanded. And obviously during lockdown, I didn't have a lot to do, so I put an Eric Clapton tribute together. And we do that. It's exactly the same band as the Quo, exactly the same.
Yeah.
And we go out as Clapton, we go out as Quo, and it does really work. It brings out the musicians in us all. You can see how good we really are if you don't mind me blowing my own trumpet. But yeah.
Well, you're channeling different areas with that. With Quo, it's sort of the feel, and I guess with Clapton, it will be different stuff in there. And the fact that the same set of musicians can kind of channel two different areas. It does, I know you're blowing your own trumpet, but you are right in that it does show, a certain level of skill, I think.
As I say, we have a thing in the band, because people often ask us all the time, what do you prefer playing? And I have to break it down to with the Quo, it's just an all-round good feeling. The audience are into it, we're into it, but you're kind of restricted in a way. I don't mean this. I know one of our followers, Kim, she had a go at me the once. I said, with the Quo, you're kind of restricted because you have to play certain solos. You have to do it in a certain arrangement. You have to do it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Starts here, finishes here every time. But with the Eric Clapton, we are a lot more free. If I want to make a solo last 10 minutes, I can, and we just come back together. It's a lot more open, it's a lot more free, and it's more beneficial from a musician's point of view rather than an audience point of view, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll get the best of both. With the Quo, strict, regimented, that's what it is. And then with the Clapton, I can do what the hell I want.
Well, that is fair. That is good. I mean, even with this podcast, I do 2 or 3 others. It just allows you to stretch your muscles in just different places, and do different stuff. We went to all different kinds of places last time, but there have been some developments since we last spoke, including a possible new album from Francis Rossi. Are you excited for new music?
I am. I've said this since Rick died. I think he should have, and I know some people are not going to agree with me here. When Rick died, I think Francis should have called it a day, and I think he should have done his solo stuff. But then again, I don't think he would have had the longevity that he would have had just doing that. So I understand why he kept the Quo thing going. But I am excited. I remember going to the One Step at a Time tour in 2010, and I loved every song on the set list. It was something different. It wasn't your same old Quo set. So I'm really looking forward to, I like all of Rossi's solo albums. I like his playing, I like his writing, his solo work, and I just, a friend of mine, a radio presenter, Gary Foster, went to the actual, I had to listen to it last week. Yeah. And when he posted about it, I did ask him, I says, is it a new solo album or is it just another album of demos again? And he said, no, John, it's a proper new album, new songs. I went, yes. So, I was, that kind of put my mind at ease.
Well, it's certainly, I think there will be a lot of people thinking the same thing. Because you've gone straight from the source there, and I wasn't expecting that. So thank you.
Yeah, I did ask him. I said, and he's a good guy, Gary. And I just openly asked him. I said, is it a new album or are we just getting old stuff redone? And he says, no, John, it's a completely new album, new stuff, and it sounds fantastic. I went, yes.
Because I feel like the demos thing was very interesting, and I feel like there are other volumes coming. I feel like people have gone to meet and greets with the man himself, and they've said, is there more coming? And he's gone, yes, definitely. So, the people that like that, they'll be able to get that. But the fact that there's new music, I mean, this will be the first one, since 2019?
That's the one with Anna Rickard, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, where it's something outside of Status Quo. Now I think about it, 2019 was quite a busy year, wasn't it? All the various different things. One question I've seen sort of around the forums since this announcement the other day, or this idea that there was a new album coming, which you've now kind of confirmed is new material, is will we ever get another Status Quo album? What are your thoughts on the possibility of a new Quo branded album?
I don't think it'll happen, personally. I think, not to sound negative or any way, I think since Rick's passing, I've noticed when they have gone out on tour, the venues have got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think the last tour they did last year, it was all open air, like amphitheatres, wasn't it?
And festivals,
was it like
yeah.
3,000 to 5,000 people. Now, I think Rossi can see what's going on, and he's admitted it himself. He can't physically keep up. Him, Rhino, and Andrew can't physically keep that stamina up, I think, to doing the live shows. It would be nice to hear another Quo album, but I don't think it would happen, personally. I think Rossi's done with it now.
So you think there's possibly more possibility of hearing other solo material, either archive or otherwise?
Yeah, I think he'll just, he'll do what he wants to do now, rather than being told, "Oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that." No, it's, I think, as I say, haven't they auctioned off all the gear, all the band gear?
I believe so. Yes, they had an auction. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't see, unless they've got all new gear. I personally can't see it happening. And as I said before, I think he should have done this when Rick died. So I don't know. I'm caught. I'm still, I'm caught on the fence with that one.
Yeah, I think it can go either way.
Yeah.
With that, it would have been nice for perhaps an End of the Road Part 2, but as they've admitted themselves, like they did that last time, and then look what happened following that.
Yeah.
All the coming back stuff. So it's an interesting question that'll constantly develop, I'm sure, especially as more solo material comes out. Because I don't know about you, like the more that I see solo material being released, whoever it is, from the band, even like side projects, it just makes it look like the Quo thing is even more in the distance.
Yeah, I think, as I say, it's a difficult one with that. It's you got to factor in the ages as well. Isn't Andy older than Rossi?
Yes, he's nearly 80.
So bear in mind, to be at that age and still touring. I know people still tour at that age, Mick Jagger and Clapton, Albert Lee, but I don't think they do as much as what Quo's done. But as I say, it has to take an effect. Do you want to be 80 years old and sleeping on a bunk in a coach?
Yeah.
It can't be comfortable, especially at that age. When you've got aches and pains, and so you got to take their ages into account, and you got to take, obviously the smaller venues.
Do you think that there's been something of an upturn in the amount of archive kind of releases that we've seen? I mean, we've had the live box set. There are other things apparently in the works. Do you think that there's sort of an upturn in that stuff?
Well, as I say, to keep the money coming in, they've got to bring out product, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I think what you'll do or what you'll see is them going through all that now. I know when you interviewed the guy who did the remixes for the Glasgow, I forgot his name.
Andy Gamble.
That's the one. Yes. When you interviewed him and I watched that, he was on about the 79 shows were there.
Yeah.
The Hammersmith 79 shows. It wouldn't surprise me if you see them released next, or anything that they've got back catalogue. I know people have been calling out for the End of the Road to have a Blu-ray or a DVD release, same as Rock to Your Drop. There's so much stuff that could happen that, as I say, that's the only way they're going to get the product out now, is to keep bringing out live stuff from the archives, or like the demos or stuff like that.
I think, as you say, we're going to see a lot more of that in the future, and why not? Because every other band, pretty much does it. I mean, the Beatles are doing this anthology sort of 30th anniversary thing.
Yeah.
Are you a follower of the Beatles at all?
I like some. I'm not a massive fan. I've kind of joked that my favourite one's George Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
I love George, and to me, Ringo Starr was Thomas the Tank. So, and I'm not. I prefer John Lennon's solo stuff to the Beatles, and I'm not particularly keen on Paul McCartney. But I understand how genius he is as a musician and a songwriter. But I do like a few Beatles songs. But I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan. I can listen to them, but I don't go out my way to learn the stuff or anything.
It's not something that's grabbed you.
No.
Particularly. You do have a moment with these things, you give it a try and then sometimes it grabs you, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Is there another band of a similar vintage, somebody with a similar kind of legacy? Is there someone that you've heard other than Clapton and Quo that has grabbed you?
Oh, there's loads of bands I like. I like Free. I like Mike Oldfield. Rory Gallagher.
Mm-hmm.
Massive Rory Gallagher fan. JJ Cale. I like all the blues stuff, so I'm very heavily into like Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King. Rolls on and on and on. I'm a massive David Gilmour fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I've got so much music in me and I listen to that much.
Now, admittedly, my knowledge of Rory Gallagher is not particularly high, and it really should be because, he's often mentioned in similar circles to Quo, and so I really do need to do more research on it. If there are other people listening that are like me, that don't know his stuff that well, where do you start?
There's only one album to start at, and that's the Irish tour from 1974.
Mm-hmm. It's
a live album. I've got every record he's ever released, and he's one of the very rare artists where there's not a song that you skip. There's not one where you think, oh, I don't want to listen to. Every song's got you. I do hold him in very high esteem. There's certain Quo songs I'll skip. There's certain Clapton songs I will skip because But Rory Gallagher, JJ Cale, every track to me is just gold.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely if you haven't listened to Rory Gallagher, listen to either the Irish Tour 74, Tattoo, Blueprint, Secret Agent, I think it's called, off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. There's one called Jinx. It's all the stuff is just phenomenal.
Do you prefer to listen on CD, streaming, or vinyl? I
have loads of vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
I've been collecting since I was about 13, and if I'm quite snobbish about it now. If a band doesn't release something on vinyl, I don't buy it. But most of the music I listen to now anyway is from the 70s anyway, so it's easily attainable from record stores and stuff like that. I do have CDs for the certain stuff that you can't get on vinyl that I must have.
Yeah.
But there's certain, vinyl is my main listening point.
Well, from memory, there are only 3 Quo albums that haven't made the jump to vinyl. Can you name them?
Oh, Heavy Traffic is one.
Yeah.
Famous in the Last Century.
Yeah.
Riffs.
And Riffs, yeah. The Party Ain't Over Yet might be in there somewhere. Because
that got a release.
Did that get a release? Yeah, I was trying to think. Did that get a release? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have those in my collection, actually. I still need to get them.
I mean, do you think perhaps the delay in the vinyl release of the 3 albums we mentioned is because they believe that it won't sell very well?
Well, to be honest, when they... Famous in the Last Century, I don't think will sell. Neither will Riffs. But it surprised me that when they released the deluxe box set of Heavy Traffic, they didn't release it as a vinyl. Because that really shocked me, because I would have thought people would have jumped at having that on vinyl. If you've released Under the Influence and you've released Party Ain't Over Yet and left Heavy Traffic, I think I don't know.
is there a possibility that maybe those albums need a little remix before they make their thing? Because I'm sure I read somewhere that and don't quote me on this is just what I've read, but Under the Influence, they use the CD masters for the vinyl.
Okay.
Or some things have done that. Maybe those albums just needed, Heavy Traffic needed a bit of a remix before it kind of can come to life on vinyl. But, a lot of people still collect regardless, I think.
Yeah, as I say, it's one of those albums. It still sounds current. It's like what you mentioned, Under the Influence. I love that album from start. That's one of the rare Quo albums that I think is brilliant from start to finish. It's there's not a track on there I would skip. I'd listen. I'm sure my dad's got that one on vinyl. I'm sure I've managed to track that one down for him. But I've not listened to it. You see, I've still got the CD or on my computer. But even still, listen to Heavy Traffic. It still sounds the way it did when it came out in 2002. It doesn't sound dated. You don't think, oh, that was released in 2002. It could have been released yesterday. So I don't see what the problem is really. Could do. I don't know. I don't think I've listened to it in that much depth recently to comment on the remixing.
It's interesting that you say that, because there have been a lot of innovations in recording in the last sort of 25 years. But as you say, there is a certain timelessness about it, and I think it's because they went back to basics.
Yeah. As I say, when you watch the Party on Over Yet DVD, which I did after our last conversation.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Mike Paxman says when they did, I think it was when they did Under the Influence, they brought all the live gearing to the studio, and you hear Rossi said, "Oh, it got somewhere with Heavy Traffic," and you can tell that. You can tell it sounds live.
Yeah.
Even though obviously they've done the backing track and they've done all the overdubs over the top, but it sounds like they've played together in a room. It sounds. It was back to basics, and it was a massive album for the, it brought a lot of Quo fans back together.
Indeed. And hopefully at some point in the future, there will be vinyl release of it.
Yeah. I've actually commented on Rossi's Facebook page because I want King of the Doghouse on vinyl.
I mean, it's its 30th anniversary next year. Thanks. We've gone on to the next thing. That's a good connection. We're celebrating next year King of the Doghouse at 30. Which is it to you? Is it a Rossi solo album, or is it an album that just happens to have Rossi vocals on it?
Well, when the album come out, as I mentioned earlier, my dad was play Quo in the car all the time. He'd make mixtapes of different things. And when that album come out, he played it relentlessly, and I loved it. I loved every song on it. I think it's a cracking album, and I still do to this day. I still play it, and it's just happy. I'm just happy. It feels like it feels like you can imagine being on holiday and listening to it.
Yeah, it has that sort of vibrant feel about it.
Yeah. As I say, I don't know why. He has, when he did the One Step at a Time tour, I don't know why he didn't bring a few songs from that album, maybe Blue Water or Eyes Are Crying, or maybe even Someone Show Me Home, which I know was off If You Can't Stand the Heat, but I prefer that version.
Yeah.
Or what's that other one I love? The Greatest Fighter.
The Greatest Fighter, yeah.
I like that one. That's better than the Quo version from Ain't Complaining, or the B-side of Ain't Complaining, or whatever it was.
Because they've gone sort of more intense, and you mentioned Someone Show Me Home. It's got sort of an Enya vibe about it.
Yeah.
It's really kind of melancholic and sort of otherworldly.
Well, I know Rossi's not very fond of the album because of all what went on, and he said that he recorded a song. I think it was Doghouse. He recorded it like Tallulah's Waiting. It was kind of in the same vein.
Yeah.
And when he came in the next day, it had all been remixed and redone and reshuffled. But as I say, I've grown up with it, so I still hold it in really high regard as a great album.
I mean, do you think that maybe next year perhaps a remixed version, perhaps a sort of a double CD set or a double vinyl with the original album and then maybe, Rossi's version.
I would like that. That would be really cool if they did that. I don't know if he would, because obviously if he's got another new album coming out, where would he release? Is he going to do 2 solo albums in the 1 year? I hope they do, because I've been asking on his Facebook page for ages just to release it on vinyl, because I want it on vinyl. I do hope he does something for it, because I think it needs more recognition than what it gets.
I think so. I heard it years ago and I fell in love with it. My dad wasn't a fan. Hopefully at some point there will be a vinyl remix or a re-release of some kind. And like we said earlier, there are bound to be more Rossi and Quo archive or otherwise releases in the future.
Yeah. As I say, it's, you don't know what's in the vault, do you, until it gets released. Unless you've got someone who's been in there, like Andy Gamble, who can go, oh, that's there, that's there, that's there. It makes your mind wonder, doesn't it, what is actually in there? You might get, there might be live recordings from every tour that they've done through the 70s and 80s.
Even if it's a soundboard recording.
Yeah, even if it's that. I've been listening recently. I've downloaded all the, because I use Apple Music when I'm on my phone.
Yeah.
And I downloaded Hello, Quo, On the Level, Blue for You, Dog or Two Head, and Spinning Wheel Blues. I just thought I'll download them and I'll have a listen. The amount of live stuff that's on it. I've not actually listened to the studio albums yet because it's just live.
Yeah.
I forgot how much live stuff there is. And to be honest, the amount of times I listened to Bye Bye Johnny today, it's done my head in. But hearing the different same board, I'm guessing it's the same board mix. But hearing the different versions, like from the Hello album to the Quo album and you hear the different solos and the different sections and the different.
Yeah.
And it's, the amount of times, at one point where they did, I think I was listening to Roll Over Lay Down today, and he didn't do the cuckoo, but I did. Cuckoo. And I thought, oh, he hasn't done the cuckoo. Oh, but what album's that from? Oh, it's from the, okay. So.
Yeah. What you're seeing is the development of live staples and experimentation. And we certainly saw that with the live box set that came out, where, it looks on paper like every CD is the same and, it's the same tracks. And it's like, yeah, but there's differences. Be different solos or different sections, like you say, different approaches. And they spent, 5, 10, 15, 20 years sort of going through and refining and changing.
Yeah, it's, as I say, it was nice to hear all the different bits. I know Rossi cocks up sometimes on some of the stuff. I was listening to, I didn't realise it was on it until I looked. But there's a version of Is It Really Me, Gotta Go Home?
Yes.
On is it the Hello Deluxe from Dublin? The National State, somewhere in Dublin. And I was having a listen to it. And they were doing the jig that they're doing Roadhouse Blues.
Yeah.
In that. And they also did a lot of the end of obviously it's the same song. Gotta go. The end of 4,500 times. The
yeah.
At the end of it, and I thought, okay. So I was like, okay, I've got this. I've got the reference. So.
Yeah, it makes I think 4,500 times kind of turned into something of a medley, didn't it, over time? Because it just added bits. And some of them were references, like, as you say, to Gotta Go Home, that da-da-da-da-da, that's from there.
Yeah.
And with Is It Really Me, Gotta Go Home, basically being the first Quo long song.
Yes.
It's a nice little callback.
Yeah. As I say, I was talking to my dad about it yesterday. And when they do that breakdown bit, could I be dreaming? There's an effect on Rick's voice. And I don't know if it's like a tremolo or a phaser or whatever it is, but it sounds like Pink Floyd to me.
Right.
It's very Pink Floyd-y, like Syd Barrett Pink Floyd.
Wow.
And I only had the one earphone in because obviously I was at work, and the way I was hearing it, I was like, what? I was like, it really shook me because the amount of effect on the vocal, I was like, wow, it's like Pink Floyd meets Quo. You know, it was really, really, really intriguing. It really intrigued me yesterday, that did.
All these little things that they've done over the years, and it you see the progress.
As I say, I do have a chat with people, and especially the fans. You know, if they comment on the Facebook page, I will have a chat with them. And we posted a video of Slow Train, and I had a fan or person comment today, and he says, "Oh, this is the best Quo song." I said, "You can't really say that, but it's a good song. It's a very technical song, but if you think back to 4,500 times, or is it really me? Got to go home." You see the development into, what they could achieve.
Indeed, and people keep discovering it all the time.
Yeah.
Such as yourself and others. I mean, to be fair, I had someone say to me years ago, like, "Do you get bored?" And I'm like, "No, there's so much variety here. There's so many different eras and different things to dig into, and it changes over time. And different vocalists, different production techniques, different songwriters. It's so fascinating, and it's what led to the Quo-Cast in the end. That sort of realization that, wow, look how wide this is. Normally, the idea, people think it's quite narrow.
Yeah, as I say, you get the numbskull that'll go, "Oh, it's only 4 chords or 3 chords and this and the next. Oh, he only does that one position on the fretboard, don't we?" You haven't really listened to the music, have you?
So can you name? I mean, this this is a silly question, I guess, but can you name a song by Quo that has more than 3 chords?
Oh, most of them. Big Fat Mama, Living on an Island, Dirty Water, Rockers Rolling has got more than 3 chords. 4,500 times. Claudie has got 4 chords. It'd be easier to name the 3-chord Quo songs, which would be Caroline, Paper Plane, Down Down,
Spinning Wheel Blues,
Junior's Wailing. It's far harder to name the 3-chord songs than it is to name the songs that have got more than 3 chords in.
And the thing is, it's all fun to play at the end of the day, and it's fun to learn this stuff. And what do they say? 3 chords and the truth. A lot of some genres are built on those.
Well, as was it Joe Elliott on the Quo, Hello Quo? He says, "Look at the Ramones, 2-chord wonders, and look how big the Ramones are." It's BS, to put it politely. That's all it is. It's easy to say, "Oh, Quo's 3 chords." You try playing them correctly, because there's a certain feel that you need to have when you're doing a Quo song. I've seen loads of people play Quo, pub bands. I've seen various other bands play Quo, and they're good, but they don't have the feel. Sometimes we don't have the feel. I can go if I'm not in the mood. We did a gig. Oh, where was it? A couple of weeks ago, and we played. The pub was full, but they weren't interested at all. I played. There was a fan of ours who follows us everywhere, Lee Bilston, and he said that was absolutely amazing. I felt like it was my own private gig. We did. I think we did a Frantic Ford set because I was really annoyed with the venue, because they said, "Oh, you can't go on till 10 o'clock because of the football." Okay. So I completely just did I just did the Glasgow live set.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to have a bit of fun here, and we just played for him basically.
We'll start to wrap this up, but once more, we've gone all over the place.
Yes.
But there's loads of things to touch upon. I got an email the other day from a regular contributor to the podcast who reminded me that it was 25 years since Rhino released his first solo album. Have you heard that?
I did have it somewhere, and I don't know. It might be in my Status Quo. I've got all my Status Quo CDs in a flight case.
Right.
silver case thing. But they're not here. They must be at my dad's.
Yeah.
So I must go and have a look when I'm down there to see if it's in there, because I can't find it anywhere. I've got Bernadette's couple of CDs, and I've got Little Egypt. I found them. But I haven't found Rhino's Revenge yet. But I have listened to it a long time ago.
Now, the Bernadette CDs, you say CDs as in more than one. Do you have the album that Francis produced?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I haven't met anybody else who has that.
I bought them off her at the Town Hall. She was the support act for Rossi on his UK tour.
Yes.
And she says, I'm going to be out the front selling me CDs. So, I, in between her going off and Rossi coming on, I went and got, had a chat with her and this, that, the next. And I bought there was the Bee in the North.
Yeah.
And there was the Bernadette one. So I bought the two, But I think it's my favourite song of the Bee of the North. I think it's Radio.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Is it Radio? I think it is, yeah. I like that one. But yeah.
I must admit, I've not heard that album, but I have heard Bernadette.
The Bernadette one, yeah.
But that's got some players on it, hasn't it? Because I think Francis plays some guitar on it. Paul Hirsch is in there somewhere, playing keyboards, and it's an interesting thing. It's interesting to hear him produce a different kind of music.
Yeah. As I say, it's nice to, to have a listen to it and to know that Francis has had his hand in it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, Graham Bonnet.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he had an album out called Night
Games. Yeah. Line Up, I think the album was called, wasn't it?
Yeah, Line Up, the album. Night Games was a single, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Francis Rossi produced that and played on it, sang on it. Same with Rick, and I think Lemmy was on the track.
Yeah, Andy Bown is on there somewhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like John Eden co-produced it, or produced most of it. And Bob Young has writing credits on it.
Yeah.
Along with Mickey Moody. It's very much, there's a lot of Quo in there.
Yeah. As I say, it's nice to hear anything that Francis... I even had, what's his name? Andy O'Brien.
Lee O'Brien.
Mm-hmm. Where did I get Andy from? Lee O'Brien. I had to listen to his album because I knew Francis Rossi did it during lockdown.
Yeah.
So I had to listen. You got to, it's just... Oh, I wonder what Francis plays like if he's in this kind of outfit. It's like there's a bootleg. I don't know if it's still up on YouTube, but there's a bootleg of Francis Rossi playing with Dire Straits.
Yes. Is it Two Young Lovers or something, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was, I'm a massive Dire Straits fan. I love Mark Knopfler. And it was nice to hear Francis Rossi playing with Mark Knopfler. Stuff like that, I'm completely drawn to.
Oh, me too, because you like hearing them in different modes. I mean, if you're talking about, material that members of the band have produced outside, you start going into the Bombers, into the various projects that John Coughlin's done over the years, like the Rockers with Phil Lynott and Roy Wood and etc. Chaz Hodges. What was that called? We Are the Boys Who Make All the Noise.
Yes.
You go into Andy Bown's solo material, which is a whole other world because obviously he was a solo artist before he was in Quo. The other day, I was at a car boot sale looking through vinyl, which I haven't done for years, right? I haven't done it for years because I've just not really been. And they were doing this free for £1, and I was scrolling through, and I was like, "Oh, okay, they've got a Judy Zook album in here," and it was her debut album. And I thought, "Are Jeff and Rhino on this one?" So I got my phone out, had a look, and was like, "No, but it's Mike Paxman plays instruments on it." I was like, "I'm having that," It becomes these little connections. They become part of the whole thing. It's not just about sometimes collecting the individual albums. It's all kinds of connections.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that with most of the artists I listen to. But as I say, we were talking about the Beatles earlier. One of my favourite tracks is "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," simply because Eric played the guitar solo.
He did, yeah.
One of my favourite John Lennon songs is "Cold Turkey" because Eric played on the guitar on it. You know, it's little. I do understand where you're coming from with that. You know, you find oh, okay, I didn't realise he was on that. Oh, he produced that. You know,
the Quo Connections, not that one. Everywhere.
Yes.
You know, they're all over the place.
As I say, it's just funny how so many, you know, as you say, you see an album, it's produced by Mike Paxton. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, when you read the Hello album, and is it Diamond Shaw?
Yes.
And you think, well, what else has he done? You know, you do try and find other avenues, don't you?
You do indeed. And that's what makes it endlessly fun, I think.
Yeah.
Going, well, what else have they done? What, you know, like next year is the 30th anniversary of the Don't Stop album, and Geraint Watkins plays on there. And of course, he played quite prolifically with Dave Edmunds and, you know, lots of other artists providing accordion, piano, and as a solo artist in his own right. There's some great stuff on those albums. And of course, Dave Edmunds himself, who produced a couple of tracks for Quo and has a very large, extensive catalogue, both as himself, as a producer, and as a member of Rockpile.
It's funny you mentioned Dave Edmunds. There's a guitar player that I follow called James Oliver.
Yeah.
He's in the James Oliver band. And I saw him in Birmingham. I went to see him. He was playing. And he was talking about, because he's co-wrote an album with John David.
Right.
And he mentioned it. He says, he's Welsh. I'm not even going to attempt a Welsh accent. But he said, John David played Francis Rossi, one of my songs. And I was like, okay. Because he knows I'm in a Quo tribute, you know, and I love Quo.
Yeah.
And he goes, Francis Rossi really liked my song. Oh, okay, it's great, you know. But I bought the vinyl album off him, the one with John David, and I'll tell you something. If you do get a chance to check him out, do check him out, because he's on the spectrum like us.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you something. His guitar playing, out of this world. Plays a Telecaster. He plays a 54 beat up Telecaster. And I tell you something. If Wilco Johnson meets Dave Edmunds meets rockabilly, all that kind of thing.
What's the name?
James Oliver.
James
Oliver Band. You know, he's just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, he mentioned John David, and of course, John David is very prolific. Loads of songs everywhere, you know, 2 or 3 or more songs for Quo now, you know, on In the Army Now, The Party Ain't Over Yet, you know, Rick Parfitt's solo album, even, I think there's even one on Backbone as well. And the various artists that he's worked with over the years. This is an endless conversation, but we shall draw it to a close here.
Yeah.
As we get into the second part of the sort of last part of the year, where are Just Doin It playing?
The next full show, we are at the station in Cannock on Sunday, the 18th of October.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets are available online, or if you go to the Facebook page, there's an event up on there and you can buy tickets via there. Only £8 a ticket, which is like 80s prices.
Wow.
I don't say 70s, it's 80s prices.
That's a great price.
Because it's a Sunday, I think the venue's kind of he's trying to try us out before giving us a more high profile day. So, you know, £8 a ticket. We're doing a winter West Midlands kind of tour where we do Quo Festive and we do play the Christmas song. So we're doing that. We'll be in Birmingham. We're in West Bromwich. We're in Bilston at the Cafe Metro. We're doing all round there. And, you know, and next year we've got lots of stuff already planned for next year. So,
well, we'll leave the link to your Facebook page in the description below and everything else. And I'll say once again, thank you for being a guest on the Quo-Cast once more.
And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.